Good morning, everybody. What's going on? Welcome back to Movie Mornings. I'm your host, Martino. Look, we might have more Harry Potter on the horizon, and we also have a new Indiana Jones series coming. Lots of fun stuff with Star Wars we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into it on this edition of Movie Mornings. But guys, before we get started, thank you for being here. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section below, share this with your friends, and hit that bell for notifications. Also sitting here with me to talk about all this exciting stuff is Mr. Jose Espinel. Mr. Jose Espinel, how you doing?
Hello, I'm excited to be here. I'm glad to be on another edition of Movie Mornings here, talking to Dom about all these exciting news articles that we're here to talk about with you guys, and leave some comments in the section. Let us know what you guys think about all these news articles that we're about to talk about here.
Absolutely, my guy. And Jose came in hot today. There was steam coming out of his ears because he's so mad at Warner Brothers. I'm interested to get into that with him a little bit later here today. But let's talk about this first story that I actually find to be really interesting. And Fantastic Beasts is a franchise like I really love. I really do like those three movies. Not the second one so much, but one I love. I really love the first Fantastic Beasts, and the third one I thought was really good. It was a really good movie. 2 was definitely a downer, but the thing is that they didn't make a lot of money, and so people were wondering like what's going to happen with the Harry Potter franchise. Well, interestingly enough, we do have a story here. This does come to us from the Hollywood Reporter, and let's see here. The headline reads, Warner Brothers Discovery boss wants more Harry Potter movies if J.K. Rowling will agree. Let's see. So the article says Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav is keen to exploit the company's. Can't see what I'm reading here. Hang on a second, folks.
Company's franchises, and that includes the possibility of making more Harry Potter films.
If something can be worked out with J.K. Rowling, we are going to focus on franchises. Zaslav said during an investors call Thursday. We haven't had a Superman movie in 13 years, which I think is inaccurate. We haven't done a Harry Potter movie in 15 years. Inaccurate if you count Fantastic Beasts. The DC movies and the Harry Potter movies provided a lot of profits for Warner Brothers over the past 25 years. The executive went on to note the studio still has the theatrical rights to Lord of the Rings, which is actually really interesting, and went back around to the idea of more Harry Potter, noting he'd like to see more if we can do something with JK on Harry Potter going forward. Jose, this is really interesting stuff. There's kind of a lot to dive into here. One is like, it sounds like to me that he's not looking to do more Fantastic Beasts movies. He wants more Harry Potter.
He wants to, like, I guess do a whole different kind of take, like a
you're good.
There.
You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Like how Fantastic Beasts is still Harry Potter, but it's kind of like its own thing. I'm guessing he wants to just keep doing that with Harry Potter, and do like a whole new trilogy of something completely different with like a completely different casting and characters. What is what I'm thinking he's probably wanting to do.
Yeah, well, what becomes the odds of them getting the same cast back? I mean, do you think that's tangible?
Very slim.
I think with the right amount of money, you could.
He who should not be named is definitely not going to be in it.
Well, look, we never thought we'd see movies with Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford again, and then, there they are in the sequel trilogy. So, I don't know, man. I think it's definitely a possibility. I don't think you do more without them, but the other interesting part about this is if J.K. Rowling agrees to it, because I'm pretty sure that's all kind of contractual with her, that you kind of need her say-so to be able to do more. So what do you think would be the best approach? Is for her to write more books and then adapt the books, or for her to just write scripts again like she did with Fantastic Beasts?
I think what would sell better, is there books for Fantastic Beasts?
They did publish the screenplays that she wrote for him, but
you see,
they never did actual books.
I think what does better is writing books and then making movies from those. I think that's probably one of the biggest, I guess not the biggest reason, but one of the reasons why Fantastic Beasts didn't really make the money that it could have, was because they weren't first written as books and then adapted, which is why, again, they're making another Hunger Games book, because Susan Collins wrote a new book recently that they're now going to adapt into a movie. So I feel like the best approach is her writing some more books and then them adapting them into movies.
And so you think that they should definitely focus on a new set of children just so they're not locked into that original
Yes.
cast is kind of what
Yes.
your take is. Okay, I see. It'd be interesting to get a new cast of child stars and watch them grow up on the screen the same way we did with Daniel, Rupert, and Emma for Harry, Ron, and Hermione. I
feel like they should maybe kind of expand more on like their kids and maybe make something about their kids. I think that would be really interesting to see. Basically, like Harry Potter, just you get a completely different casting and characters. You get Harry's kids, Ron and Hermione's kids, Draco's kids. All these people that went to the Hogwarts together. You get a story based around their kids and their life as wizards and witches.
I just feel like it's going to be difficult to get the fans to swallow it either way. Because I think that on one end, people are going to be like, well, you're just going back to nostalgia and it's not fresh enough, right? It's not fresh or new enough. There's another pocket that's going to say, you didn't get the old cast back, why not? So I think they're going to have to try to find some type of middle ground. That's my personal take, to where you can balance it between the old cast and the new cast. I think that would be a good take. And at least that way, if you can't get all the old cast back, maybe you can get one or two of them back in the fold, and then you're just like, that way it's just not completely empty. And then if the movies do really well, then you can get all three of them back. You know what I mean?
I feel like if you are going to make movies based on their kids, I feel like it would only make sense to have their parents in there kind of teaching them the ways of how to be a good wizard, witch. The basically just teaching them how to perfect the arts. Like we don't honestly. I wouldn't need Hogwarts back in these movies.
No.
I think it would be a lot more interesting having the parents
fans will want it,
like homeschooling, having the parents.
That'd be a new take. That's fresh. I wanted to ask you. So for you, I would you be interested in seeing more personally? Do you think you need more?
I mean, I know that this channel knows I'm not the biggest fan of Harry Potter. I did like the Fantastic Beasts movies. One's my favorite. I'm the same with you. One's my favorite. 3 was my second, and then 3 was my second favorite, and then number 2 was kind of just like eh. Do I need more? Not really. Would I like to see more? Possibly, depending on what they do. Again, I didn't really think that I would like Fantastic Beasts. I didn't really need them, but upon watching them, I really enjoyed them. And so I think a fresh take, still kind of going back to the nostalgia, bringing those characters back, I think would be pretty cool and interesting to see.
I feel like if she writes more books, people will buy them and they can adapt from those.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I said that's the best approach that J.K. Rowling could take, is writing new books, and then Warner Bros. Adapting them into movies. That's the best play that they could do, because like we said, Fantastic Beasts didn't really make money. I think that's that's where they failed, is not writing Fantastic Beasts into books and then adapting them into books.
Right.
So that's where I think they failed, and that's why I think that's the best approach they can take, is her writing completely new trilogy, 4 books, however many you want to write, and then adapting those books into movies eventually in the future.
Yeah, I think definitely for me too, as a bigger fan of it than you are, that I would be more apt to want more if I read books that were great first, because I know that if you have the source material movies, there, they can adapt it, But yeah, go ahead.
And movies are never as good as the books. Obviously, they never are. But it would still be amazing for the fans who love Harry Potter. They will buy the books, read the books, and then they'll go and watch the movies because it's Harry Potter and they love it. They might not love it as much as the books, obviously, but they're still going to love it because they're still based off of these books.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it'll definitely sell a lot more if they first write them into books and then adapt them into movies.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, it'd be cool to get a new set of child stars. And speaking of like child stars and stuff, I'll tell you one thing I actually watched over the weekend that I thought was really cool, was the Selena Gomez doc. Have you checked this thing out yet?
No, still haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think it's the best piece of cinema all year. I know that's like crazy, kind of bold.
That is a wild shout.
But dude, it's just so good. It's so raw. It's so real, and I love that approach. It's not
That's what I thought about the Machine Gun Kelly doc. That shit is really fucking good.
I haven't seen that yet, but
that one's the one you have to check out, because that's also like emotional, raw.
Yeah,
and it's just the story that he tells about where he started and where he is now is just phenomenal.
My favorite things in, like, are like my favorite things about films are like films that can change my perception on something, and this changed my perception on Selena Gomez. Not her music or her body of work per se, but just her persona, because like I still don't think that in terms of her music it's all been that good. She's a pretty good actress. I really love Only Murders in the Building, but my perception of her as a person just definitely changed after watching this documentary. And what I love about this documentary is it doesn't just show the good side, it doesn't just it shows some of the bad side too of her.
That's
it's not...
and that's again why I liked the Machine Gun Kelly one too, because it showed not only the goods in his life, but it also showed the downs and the bads.
Right.
Which, again, for the people out there who don't necessarily like Machine Gun Kelly's music, watch this doc and it'll change your mind, not only about his music, but also just about him in general. People just think he's this like bad person, this dickhead or whatever, but you watch this doc and you realize the reasons why he was the way he was and what he did to change that and become a better person. So it's just, it's great.
It's exactly what the Gomez doc did for me. So maybe I will check out that Machine Gun Kelly one for sure, because the Gomez doc definitely did that for me. And it's honestly just, I don't know. There is kind of a cinematic quality to it, which I really loved. I mean, they use like certain insert shots that I thought were just really cool to give it that more cinematic feel. And, it just, I feel bad for a lot of these people. They get, when they're kids, they get put into that machine, man, where they just want to churn out child stars. And it's like, if you can't, once you're like at the adult age, if you can't crank out good work, like the business will eat you alive, and Selena Gomez has made it just barely, you know what I mean? In terms of, being able to stay relevant. If you can't find a way to stay relevant, the business will chew you up and eat you alive. We've seen that plenty of times recently, and it's really sad. But anyway, guys, I recommend checking out that doc for anybody who's interested. It's really cool. It's honestly just, like I said, my personal favorite piece of cinema this year. I've watched it twice now. It's on Apple TV Plus, so I recommend it. The other thing I got to watch recently was Weird, the Al Yankovic story, which I also think is one of the best movies of the year. It's honestly like, because speaking of Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe, playing Weird Al Yankovic, which is in a role that he just absolutely commits to. I hope he gets nominated for this. It's amazing. But the movie doesn't really lay out Weird Al Yankovic's life. It's ridiculous and exaggerated and extremely whacked out and wacky. So yeah, I mean, check it out though, folks. I'm telling you, I had a ridiculous amount of fun with this movie, and I think it's relentlessly funny. And Evan Rachel Wood plays Madonna in the film; she does fantastic. And Ryan Wilson is gonna be Dr. Demento, or he plays Dr. Demento, and he's fantastic in that role. Oh my gosh, it's almost like up there with Dwight Schrute for me in terms of a role. I mean, Dwight's obviously more iconic, but he does such a good job in the role of Dr. Demento as well. So it's so relentlessly funny, and I highly recommend anybody check it out. Have you watched Weird yet?
I haven't seen it either. No.
Okay, it's really wacky. I recommend it.
Never really knew much about Weird Al. I just know his name, Weird Al. Like, I've heard of it before. I don't really know much about Weird Al.
Yeah, watch this movie. It's funny.
I'll probably start. Where is it? What is it on?
This one is on Roku channel, so it's free.
Okay.
You can download the Roku channel even if you don't have a Roku. It's a free movie.
I've got the Roku stick, so I can.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, it's just on their app. It's free. It's absolutely free.
Okay.
So you can check it out. It's pretty cool. That I was surprised for a free movie how great it was, as wacky and weird as it was. Speaking of wacky and weird things, though, we have a really kind of wacky and weird story, if you ask me. And I love Indiana Jones, man. I you know that that's one of my favorite franchises ever. I love how great the first trilogy was, and then because Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the best movies I've ever seen, 100%. And after that, you had Temple of Doom, which I still really love. And I know some people that Temple of Doom is their absolute favorite. I also know people that Last Crusade is their favorite. And I love all three of those movies, but Raiders is the one I hold near and dear to my heart. And then I think all the fans are pretty like-minded on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I think it's a little overhated, but it's not that good of a movie on the same hand. And now we have the new Indiana Jones movie coming out with James Mangold directing. John Williams coming back to do the score. I'm so excited for this movie. I think Mangold can bring a really fresh take. It's the first one that Spielberg is not doing, but it's been a question on a lot of people's minds. Like, Indy 5 happens, do you keep doing a franchise after that? And here we are with a new announcement. Now, this one comes from Variety here. Let's see. So we do have, Indiana Jones TV series eyed for Disney Plus. Disney is looking to develop an Indiana Jones TV show for Disney Plus. Variety has learned exclusively from sources, the Mouse House and Lucasfilm have specifically been bringing out the possibility of a streaming show set in the world of the globe-trotting archaeologists and general meetings, the writers of late, sources say. They are still looking for a writer to take on the project, thus no plot details are available, given that it is unknown if a series would serve as a prequel to or spin-off of the film franchise, or if it would tie into the upcoming 5th Indiana Jones film, similar to how Disney had tied its Marvel shows on Disney Plus into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, that's an interesting question, I think, because, with Star Wars, it introduces like this vast galaxy, right? And we have, as fans already, this preconceived notion that there are a lot of things happening in this world, and that's kind of what makes the shows for that so interesting.
Right.
Indiana Jones is, while it's a Lucasfilm property, and it has a lot of the themes and elements of Lucasfilm properties in it, and mythologies and things of that nature that are actually really fascinating and interesting. A lot of the mythologies in Indiana Jones are based on things that are already kind of in our real world, and a lot of the things that are in Indiana Jones are character-based as well. Like, it's very... Indiana Jones is the reason we watch Indiana Jones. Star Wars has a vast galaxy, which is the reason we watch Star Wars. Now, I had actually, funny enough, Last Crusade on before we were doing the show today, and they had the beginning scene with River Phoenix as young Indiana Jones. I think that could be a route for a series that could really do well. They did try that way back in the past, but maybe they could Star Wars that thing and say, that's Legends, ours is the canon young Indiana Jones, and because that one didn't do so successfully anyway. So, this is an idea that I think could work, but how many things can you possibly do with it? The only other thing I could think of is that something is introduced in the new film, maybe a new character that we want to see,
and then do like a spin-off series off that character.
A spin-off of that, like, and that could be something incredibly interesting, because a lot of the other characters that are in Indiana Jones that you could do spin-offs of are older or dead. A lot of the other actors that were playing them but that's not to say you couldn't get younger actors to play it. You know what I mean? There's definitely possibilities. I just think that it's a little bit different than Star Wars. Like I said, the reason we watch Star Wars is for the galaxy at large. The reason we watch Indiana Jones is it's for Indiana Jones, the character. So I don't know. What do you make of this? What do you think they could do?
This is a shot in the dark, but yeah, I think it could possibly be interesting, depending on, what they think. You could possibly even do like where each episode is about a different character, and kind of just the journey of multiple different. You can like have young versions of multiple characters from Indiana Jones, kind of telling their story about how they came about to the Indiana Jones franchise. And kind of is like this is where each episode's about a different character. You could do something like that for Indiana Jones here, and kind of just do a spin-off series where it's the story about all these characters that have been in Indiana Jones and how they came about to be in the franchise.
Yeah, no, it's an idea.
That could be something interesting.
Yeah, I think that there are possibilities, and it always comes down to the writing and
right.
The direction at the end of the day. Any story could be great if you write it correctly. Anything, like, it doesn't really matter.
Okay, get us on there. Get us on the right.
Hell yeah, dude, that'd be awesome. Although I don't really have any ideas off the top of my head right now, except for Young Indiana Jones, but it's kind of already been done. Like I mentioned in the beginning of Last Crusade, and in the Young Indiana Jones series that was unsuccessful. So it's been tried out before, and just, I don't know. I do like what was going on in the beginning of Last Crusade, where they're explaining, why he became afraid of snakes. You know what I mean? There are a lot of things that make up the character of Indiana Jones that you can go down, but then does that become like the checklist? Like, I know like a lot of people complained about Han Solo, and even me to a degree, like the Solo movie, because it felt like, honestly, kind of like a checklist, like we have to hit this, we have to hit this. But I always also felt in a series for Han Solo, it might have been fleshed out better. It would have actually been cool to flesh it out in a series for that movie, even though I like that movie very much. I just think it would have been more successful with the series. Yeah, because there was so much, you would have given it more time to feel more natural. The beginning of that movie just feels way too rushed because it feels like they're just going down the checklist. So I think with a series, you could do something like that. You just have to know how to flesh it out right. And a lot of these Disney Plus shows, the thing that makes me nervous, if I could be perfectly honest here, is that they all don't really know how to flesh things out right, as we've seen. Like Andor's a huge exception. It's a breath of fresh air, but a lot of these other Star Wars ones haven't fleshed things out perfectly. And Mandalorian, obviously, big exception to that. So I don't know. I hope Lucasfilm does something great with it. I think a lot of this too is going to depend on how Willow does. Because Willow's kind of one of those shot in the dark series where, they're trying this out to see, they're spinning off one of their properties, Lucasfilm, to see how it does. So I think that if that does well, then Indiana Jones could definitely do well. I think it's a lot, again, it's going to depend on Willow mostly. So yeah, I'm interested to see it for sure, but I don't know who would play young Indiana Jones right now. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, although I'm told Kevin Spacey is available. But I don't know. Do you have anybody in mind that could play Indiana Jones?
Does he have a son?
Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
Oh, no. But there is that guy. A lot of people, if you ever watch the movie Age of Adeline, which Harrison Ford is in, it's Blake Lively's in there too. It's a really charming movie. It's about time travel and romance. It's a great movie, but Harrison Ford, there's a guy that plays the younger version of him in that movie. And everybody said he should just play young Han Solo because he is fantastic. And that would be a really interesting choice.
He could be a young Indiana Jones. Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, but that's off the top of my head, the only one I can think of. I know a lot of people think Chris Pratt could do it maybe at some point, but Chris Pratt's right around the age that Indiana Jones was when he started now. So it doesn't really work, I don't think, anymore. But I think at one point in time, that was kind of an idea that was getting thrown around for Chris Pratt. And I know Chris Pratt was also in the running to play young Han Solo, which is, also a younger version of a Harrison Ford character. So I don't know. I think that this could be really cool. Indiana Jones is pretty sacred to me, so whatever they do, I just want it to be phenomenal. I really do.
We'll have to see.
And I think that if Indy 5 doesn't do well, you don't continue on with the series. Do you agree?
No. I mean, there's no point in because if Indy 5 doesn't do well, then at this point you're just ruining the franchise even more.
Yeah, I mean,
so there'd be no point, honestly.
It does seem like the Kathleen Kennedy antics continue. It does seem like they're jumping the gun a little bit with this because Indy 5 hasn't come out yet. To start talking about a series now, I think is kind of a little bit getting ahead of themselves, if you ask me. They don't know how this thing's going to do yet, or if people are even going to like it, how the fans are going to take it. Now, if the movie does out and kills it, then yeah, you talk about what's next, but we haven't seen this Indiana Jones 5 yet.
Right.
So I don't know. Either they're jumping the gun or they just are that confident that it's going to kill. Yeah. So who knows? We'll see. But yeah, guys, speaking of Disney and Lucasfilm, we do have another story here. And this one actually comes from StarWars.com. So this is actually an official announcement from Star Wars. We do have the Acolyte cast, which, by the way, the Acolyte has been my most anticipated series.
Same here.
I have been dying to get any kind of news on this. So not only do we have a cast, we actually kind of got a little bit of a plot description here. Right. Which I don't understand why this just didn't get announced at D23, but here we are. So let's go ahead and dive into this because I think that there's a lot of little nuggets in here that are interesting. All right, the Acolyte original series cast revealed. This is a Monday to celebrate Star Wars fans. Today, Disney Plus announced the cast for the Acolyte, an upcoming Star Wars original series from Lucasfilm, joining the previously announced Amanda Stenberg from The Hate U Give, our Emmy Award winner Lee Jung-jae from Squid Game. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. And Manny Jacinto from Nine Perfect Strangers. I hear that's a great show. Daphne King from His Dark Materials. I love Daphne King, and she's also from Logan. She's X-23 in Logan. And we have Joni Turner-Smith from Queen and Slim.
So good in Queen and Slim.
I haven't watched that yet, so that's
really fucking good.
We also have Rebecca Henderson from Inventing Anna, Charlie Barnett from Russian Doll, which, by the way, Leslie Headland, who's doing The Acolyte, did Russian Doll as well, so that kind of makes sense. Dean Charles Chapman from 1917. I don't remember who he was in 1917. But
shit, yeah. Who is he? 19? I'm trying to remember.
I can't think of him off the top of my head, but this is the big one. Carrie-Anne Moss from The Matrix. So we have some really good casting here. What I have seen of Squid Game, Lee Jung-jae is fantastic. Amanda Stenberg from The Hate U Give, I actually heard that was a great movie. I didn't get to watch it.
And she's also from Dear Evan Hansen.
Right. But I hear she's awesome in The Hate U Give. We also have Mandy Jacinto, who was from, what was he
Squid
from?
Game.
Squid Game. No, he was from
Squid Game.
That was
from Nine Perfect Strangers.
That's right, which is a great show from what I hear. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, from what I hear, that one's on Hulu, I think.
Yeah.
I hear it's a really good one.
Yeah, now Daphne King here, wow, that's a great pick.
She's the woman who's with Neo, right?
Daphne Keene? No, she's
her character.
She's from Logan. She's from Logan. She's
Logan.
X-23.
She's the one from Logan. Okay.
And everything I've seen of her in His Dark Materials, I mean, man, it's fantastic. And yeah, you look at her picture right here. I mean, she looks like a Sith to me. That looks like a Sith.
She looks menacing as well.
And we know she could play that really well. So I'm hoping that's kind of what they're going for with her.
I mean, Jodie Turner-Smith there looks like a fucking Sith as well.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that. But Carrie-Anne Moss, man, I mean, she is with Neo in The Matrix. She's
so Dean Charles Chapman, he was the friend from 1917. You know the two main boys. He was one of those main boys.
Oh wow,
from 1917. He was the younger.
So he was the friend. Okay.
Yeah, he was the friend of.
I recognize it now. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who survived. Yeah, the guy who survived.
Okay, well, he was good in that movie. So this cast is really good.
Movie's amazing.
Yeah, that movie's a masterpiece. I mean, this cast is phenomenal right here, though. You look at it, and so here we go. So
there's a first behind the scenes picture.
Yes, we do have Lucasfilm also released first behind the scenes image, which you can check out below here. It doesn't really show us much, but it is nice to know it is in production, so this thing is actually happening. And then we also have The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark powers in the final days of the High Republic era. We kind of knew that. A former Padawan reunites her with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they have ever anticipated. So a lot to unpack there. Really, let's get into it, Jose. I mean, what do you think of this? Does this sound good to you so far?
I'm excited. I actually honestly can't wait. Like you said, for me as well, this was like my most anticipated series ever because I've been waiting for something Sith based.
Yeah.
Like since Star Wars started.
Yeah.
And now that we're finally getting it, I'm over the moon excited. I honestly can't wait.
Yeah.
Now after this, the only thing that I need is some fucking Darth Plagueis the Wise, and then my life is complete with Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, and the other cool thing about this is Leslie Headland, proven showrunner with Russian Doll, so she should be doing a great job with this. I can only imagine.
And with this casting, I mean, God, it's gonna be phenomenal because this casting is just phenomenal.
This is an awesome cast. I'm gonna assume Amanda Stenberg is gonna be the Padawan and Carrie-Anne Moss is gonna be the Jedi Master. That's kind of where I think they're gonna go.
And then the rest are probably gonna be Siths.
Right. I hope so because I think that could be really amazing.
That's gonna be interesting to see Dean Charlie Chapman play a villain. That's gonna be interesting to see. So.
Yeah, I mean, I love this so much. This is great casting news, and like, yeah, I love it. I mean, it's fantastic. So, this plot description. Finally, we're getting a little bit of this. These nuggets for Acolyte. Mm-hmm. Maybe they could pull it off by 2023. I'm really hoping they can. With this news.
It's still the projected, I guess, release date is this year.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so this is the other thing that we got going on in Star Wars. Actually, there's a few things for Star Wars that we got to go over. All right, so this one kind of came out of nowhere, but I'm mixed on this news. I got to be honest. We know that a lot of projects get announced from Star Wars and they just don't come out. But let's take a look at this anyway. Let's see. We got Shawn Levy in early the talks to direct a Star Wars film following Deadpool 3. All right, so Shawn Levy is in early negotiations with Lucasfilm to direct a Star Wars movie. Variety has confirmed. You all right over there?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. There are no further details available about the project as talks are still in their preliminary stages. And whatever Levy would direct would have to wait until the prolific filmmaker completed at least 2 other projects correct on his crowded dance card. And this is what I want to get into. All right. So there's this real big trend with Lucasfilm where they find directors for Star Wars because they're doing real hot. And by the way, I love Shawn Levy. I loved Real Steel, Free Guy, Adam Project, all great projects. I'm excited to see what he could do with Deadpool
and the
3.
Deadpools. Well, yeah,
He hasn't done any of the Deadpools. This will be his first ones with Deadpool 3. But I'm excited to see what he could do with it because him and Ryan Reynolds have had such a good working relationship as of late. And
I mean, him and Hugh Jackman, look at Real Steel. And now that, Hugh Jackman's going to be in Deadpool 3, it's going to be amazing to see all 3 of them working together again.
Now imagine Star Wars with a Hugh Jackman or a Ryan Reynolds. Oh, come on. That would be incredible if he signed on.
Or both. Fuck it, both. Honestly. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in Star Wars. That'd be crazy.
But I got to say, despite that, I hate this news. Because I don't think the movie's going to happen. Look at this. Like they said, crowded dance card.
Look, I mean... This kind of goes into one of the other news articles that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Keep talking about this real quick. I'll be right back.
I mean, the fact that, Disney's out here announcing that all these different directors are going to be working on all these different kinds of Star Wars movies. At this point, it pisses me off because they start announcing shit and then a couple weeks or months later, it's like, oh no, this isn't going to happen. So it's like, don't announce anything until it's concrete that you're gonna actually do it. Yeah. Because then what's the point? What's the point in announcing something if it's not concrete? Because like I was saying, I mean, they have a history of announcing that something's gonna happen, and then a couple weeks, months later, it's like, oh no, it's not gonna happen anymore, or oh, it's delayed, and it just keeps getting delayed until eventually it just gets shelved or just canceled. So it's like, don't announce that a certain director is gonna do a certain movie unless it's concrete and it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because at this point, we've had this so much that it's just pissing me off at this point. Like I'm not gonna believe anything that comes out of Disney's mouth until it's actually concrete confirmed.
I agree, man. Look, man, and yeah, like you said, it's been so much, that they'll get these directors who are way too busy to work on them right now, and then we'll never see the light of day on these projects, or they do something like, let's say, I doubt it, but let's say Deadpool 3 flops. Let's just say it does. For whatever reason.
They're not going to want to bring Shawn Levy for
exactly
because they have a history. They have a history of doing that too, not bringing on a director because a certain project that they do flops. I mean, look at Colin Trevorrow when his movie flopped. They didn't bring him on for episode 9 because that project flops. Like, oh no, your project flopped. All right, cool.
Now, granted, I mean, this comes from Variety, so Lucasfilm didn't announce this one in particular, but I still just I hate hearing these stories because it's just I just don't see it. And they even pointed out in the article, he's already got that crowded dance card, like a lot of these filmmakers that they've been hiring, and I just don't see it happening. We're going to talk about this a little bit further because the next story kind of ties into it as well, which, let's talk about it here. Because now we also have, which we haven't been able to get to yet, a secret Star Wars film from Damon Lindelof and Lucasfilm sets Miss Marvel, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, as director. So for those of you who don't know, Sharmeen directed episodes 4 and 5 of Miss Marvel. In my personal opinion, are the worst 2 of those, but Lindelof doing the script would be really cool because his Watchmen series was great and he's got a lot of experience doing a lot of different projects, so I'm very interested to see what this is going to be. But let's go down to the article here. Following months of speculation, Deadline is now hearing from several sources close to the project that not only is Damon Lindelof developing a new Star Wars film for Lucasfilm, but that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy has been set as director. Lindelof is co-writing the project, though it is unknown at this time who his writing partner might be. Insiders say the script is still being written, which means production is likely far out. And there we go again. That said, sources add it was important to Lucasfilm and Lindelof that a director be brought on so that the person's own vision for where they see the story headed gets included in the script. I do like to hear that.
I mean, yeah.
Let's see. Lucasfilm and reps for Obaid-Chinoy could not be reached out for a comment. As for what the film actually is focused on, that will remain under wraps, as this project remains one of more guarded secrets in all of Hollywood. As for when we see this film, while it still seems a ways off, the feeling is given how proactive execs were in finding a director for this film, that this Star Wars feature seems to have the most momentum out of all the Star Wars films currently in development at the studio, so that's good. 2019 Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, was the last film to bow in the theaters, with the studio focusing on its TV projects over recent years since then. That said, they have had a number of films in development, including this one, and Lucasfilm has been pretty clear they want to make sure the next series of films has a story they are happy with and don't see a need to rush out that next franchise. So it's interesting that Lucasfilm feels that they rushed the sequel trilogy. We'll unpack that here in a second. As for Obaid Chinoy, the highly sought-after director continues to build on her strong ties with Disney after successfully directing several episodes of Ms. Marvel for Marvel Studios. That's open to debate. Best known for directing her Oscar-winning documentary shorts, Saving Face and A Girl in the River, which I haven't seen, by the way, and The Price of Forgiveness. The Oscar and Emmy-winning director also recently committed to directing Paramount's adaptation of Brilliance, which is being developed as a starring vehicle for Will Smith. She is repped by a CAA and Fox Rothschild. And then, the article actually continues on to say that they do have a writer's room. They kind of set this up after D23. And Dave Filoni was actually in the writer's room, so that's actually good. That makes me a little bit happy that they are consulting with him and getting his vision on where the sequel trilogy should go, because this is to be set after The Rise of Skywalker. A lot to unpack there, but honestly, again, I mean, what do you think of the news, aside from, whether or not it actually gets released or happens? What do you think of the news itself?
Well, hearing that Dave Filoni's in the writing room really makes me happier, because his creative directness is the best that Star Wars has seen, in my opinion, honestly.
Yeah.
And it just fills me with confidence for this sequel trilogy, because, and honestly, we don't want another flop like we got with this series.
No.
Granted, I mean, Episode 8 is the best, in my opinion.
Yeah,
obviously, that's a very, very controversial.
We're on the. No, I wouldn't even say minority. We're on one side of a divided fandom right now. That's how I would say.
Episode 7 was definitely not better than 8, but it was still like good. I feel like it was only good because it was the introduction, so you can't really go wrong. Like, you can't really go that wrong with an introduction to a series. Besides Phantom Menace,
you could
fucking garbage ass introduction. But,
you could go wrong.
I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, yes, Force Awakens still went wrong, but I feel like with an introduction, you can't really go that wrong.
Okay.
And then the less we say about Episode 9, the better.
Yeah.
Especially after reading the original script for Episode 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, we just don't want another flop in a series, in a trilogy, like with this new one, 7, 8, 9. So the fact that they're actually going to take their time with it and get their opinions and stuff from Dave Filoni himself, fills me with confidence for this series. At first, I wasn't super uber duper excited for this new series, this new trilogy that was going to come, but after hearing and reading this article, I'm filled with a lot more confidence.
Yeah, I'm confident in that writer's team. You know what I mean? Yeah. I am confident in that team to make something good. I'm not confident in Lucasfilm to release it, but I'm confident in them to come up with something that's good. But it goes back into the thing, where they hire the hot guy right now, or hot gal right now, and then it never happens.
They fucking produce something that's garbage, and it's like, oh no, we're not going to use you anymore. It's like,
and then they always have a full dance card, as the article pointed out. The release is far out, but it also points out that Lucasfilm doesn't want to rush anything, but that this project also has the most momentum of anything they've done so far. And I've also heard Jeff Schneider, who kind of whispered that Lindelof was doing something over there a long time ago. Jeff Schneider's a very reputable source, everybody. I know a lot of people have been questioning his reputability because he doesn't work for one of these big news outlets anymore, but he is a very reputable source in Hollywood, trust me. And he did say that he is confident in this one too happening. So
honestly, like
that gives me hope, but I don't want to get my hopes too high. Yeah.
honestly, Disney just needs to focus on the series that they're putting out right now. Just keep focusing on the series, and then when you feel confident in the in releasing movies again,
Yeah.
then do it. Just whenever you guys are confident and know that you guys are satisfied with what you have, then announce it and release it. But until then,
Yeah.
just keep trying killing it with the shows, because obviously they've released some questionable series.
Yeah.
But so far, for the most part, I've liked every single series that they've released. So just keep bringing us these amazing ass shows. And then when you feel confident in releasing this movie, then do that, because I don't want another flop. I don't want another flop in a trilogy like we just had with 7, 8, 9.
No,
to be honest.
I mean, flop in terms of box office, definitely not. But in
definitely,
terms of dividing
like,
the fandom and some of the
Yeah.
audience response, and then in the case of Rise of Skywalker, the critical response is low.
kind of just like the story and narrative and plot in general too, kind of just for the most part as a trilogy as a whole kind
It's a
of
bit disconnected,
so.
right? It's a bit
Yeah.
disconnected from movie to movie.
Right.
That's without a doubt. Even though I like them all to some respect, I think that they're disconnected. In a lot of ways, it doesn't feel as connected as it probably could have had they not backed out on a plan that they had, or so it seemed.
And just the wasted potential with some of the actors in the
Oh, great cast, right?
Exactly. So, and just the wasted potential with some of them too is just another thing that they really need to just work on bettering for this new trilogy.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because like a lot of people are misreading this situation. Now, the article did go on to say that some of the old cast may pop up in this project. Well, it kind of makes sense because it takes place after Rise of Skywalker if you connect it with the sequels. And, a lot of people are saying, why are they making movies focused on that cast? No, read the article. The new cast may pop up. It's very speculative. Nobody really knows. But what I would propose is, if they are in the movie, that's probably for the better, because you have an opportunity here to give them a lot more redemption, because they are such a great cast. Yeah.
And improve on the failures in certain characters from 7, 8, 9, improve on that and do better for them.
Exactly.
For example, like Finn was just a wasted potential in the trilogy, in my opinion. I feel like in this new trilogy coming, you can really have a very good redemption for Finn in this. I feel like what could be really cool is seeing Rey, like, because obviously my theory is that Finn has the Force. I mean, that's everyone's theory.
Yeah, I mean, and
I think what'd be really cool is seeing her like train Finn in the ways of the Force.
Yeah, that could be an interesting way to go. And the other thing that I would always wanted to point out is I never felt like we got enough time with those characters. Period. Like I always felt like that was kind of the damper.
We never really got to connect with a lot of the characters in this new trilogy.
Yeah. Well, let's move on here, because we do have more Star Wars news, and then here we go again. J.D. Dillard. This comes to us from Collider. J.D. Dillard. Star Wars project, is Star Wars movie is no longer happening. I actually forgot that was in the works, to be honest with you.
The Rocketeer project.
Yeah. Forgot that was in the works, I'll be completely honest, because they have announced way too many things. But here we go. J.D. Dillard is no longer attached to direct any Star Wars movies, according to reporting from The Wrap. This news comes a few weeks ahead of the release of his Korean War film, Devotion. And on the heels of reports that indicated that Shawn Levy is in talks to direct a Star Wars film. In addition to the unfortunate news that Dillard has walked away from his plans for a galaxy far, far away, the report also revealed that he is no longer attached to the Rocketeer sequel he was set to direct. The plans for the sequel were not set in motion 2 years ago, but it is unclear if someone else will step in to helm the sequel or if the project is scrapped entirely. In an interview from The Wrap about his upcoming film, Dillard was asked about a few of the in-production projects he had been attached to over the last few years, with one of them being the unnamed Star Wars film. Dillard explained that these projects, including Star Wars, were no longer quote-unquote go projects. Specifically on Star Wars, Dillard said that it was unfortunately no longer a thing, though it was not for lack of trying, quote unquote. Oh, geez. He did say that he is still interested in making some sort of space film, but now it would be an original idea, kind of like what Zack Snyder's doing now with his Rebel Moon. But, look, I mean, this kind of gives us quite a bit of insight on what's going on over there. They have no idea what they're doing. Like, when he says that it wasn't for lack of trying, I mean, he probably means that. But I'll be honest. I'm unfamiliar with J.D. Dillard and his work, and I actually forgot this was in the process of being made, this movie, but I do remember it now that it's kind of come back up again. But, you know, for me, it's like, here's another one. Another one bites the dust, right? Like, same shit we've been talking about forever. They can't get it together. They can't get a project together. I mean, go on, Jose. I mean, what do you got on this?
I mean, I feel like I'm just wasting my breath at this point.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's literally just the same shit that we've been talking about since Imperial Order started on this channel. Like,
Right.
there's something up there in the business side of Star Wars, you know, with Disney is something's happening. I mean, I don't know if they're all just snorting crack cocaine and they're all just like jumpy and like maybe they're all having ancestral sex and having kids together and like now they got web feet and like 3 heads and like I don't know, garlic for teeth. I have no idea. And they probably sag like Play-Doh.
Oh, jeez.
But I mean,
that's descriptive.
I don't know what's happening, but they just need to. I honestly feel like what they need to do is they need to go on some like Hindu like sweat lodge retreat together and just clear their minds.
Yeah.
So that they can just get their shit together and figure out what the fuck it is that is going on, what they need to do to improve this inconsistency of announcing that this director is going to direct this project, and then a couple months later say, oh no, not anymore. It's like, get your shit together, please, because it's just, again, like I said, it's annoying. I feel like I'm wasting my breath saying all this stuff because we've said it so many times already, and it's just the same. It's like I feel like I'm living in a simulation because it's the same shit over and over again. Like, I feel like the only successful thing right now is shows. It's the only thing that they can actually announce, produce, and actually release.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm happy to hear that Filoni's on the movie side with the Lindelof project, at least, that they're letting him kind of get involved in that. And hopefully the Lindelof idea is to just, you know, let's come up with a plan and let's finally crank it out, because the movie is so secretive right now and it is the thing that has the most momentum, and it's something that they did, funny enough, after D23 they put that writer's room together, apparently, which is very interesting to me because we were kind of complaining about the lack of announcements at D23. So maybe they're finally getting their shit together, which actually leads me to my next story. Disney advised Kathleen Kennedy to stop announcing Star Wars projects. More Lucasfilm executive personnel changes possible. Now, this is actually really interesting because it clearly ties into everything we've been saying. A new detailed story on Puck News by former Hollywood Reporter editor Matt Bellani has shared a lot of insight into the struggles of Lucasfilm and President Kathleen Kennedy to get the next era of Star Wars films developed. This December, it will have been 3 years since the last time a Star Wars movie has hit the big screen, and save for Indiana Jones 5 next year, it looks like we are looking at another 3-year window before a theatrical Lucasfilm production happens again. Wow. Ever since The Rise of Skywalker premiered in theaters back in 2019, Kathleen Kennedy has announced 2 live-action Star Wars movies on May 4th, 2020. The company released an official statement saying that Taika Waititi would be co-writing and directing a new film set in a galaxy far, far away. It's been 2.5 years and the movie is still not written. Later that year, on December 10th, it was also announced that Patty Jenkins would be directing Rogue Squadron. Now, that project is on the back burner. As a result, Puck News is saying Disney CEO Bob Chapek he's getting Chapek today, folks, has advised Kathleen Kennedy to stop announcing projects until they are in stone, to avoid further negative press surrounding the franchise and the company. This may have been the reason why no film announcements were made at either Star Wars Celebration in May or D23 in September. It really starts to add up, doesn't it? In an interview published in May but conducted in March, Kathleen Kennedy said Lucasfilm would be ready to make a film announcement in 2 months' time, which would indicate original plans to make a splash at Celebration. For now, it seems like the project closest to the production is the Damon Lindelof written movie. That's good to hear again, which just received a major boost with reports that Oscar winner Charmin Obaid-Chinoy is in talks to direct. And if not signed already, Lindelof, along with several other writers, is working hard on the script at the moment. All right, so waste your breath no more, Jose, because that article laid out everything that we need to say, honestly. Because
yeah, exactly. Like for today and for right now, I can't believe I'm about to say
Chapek.
this. I honestly can't believe I might actually just throw up thinking about it.
I know.
But for today and for this recording right now, he wins back Chapek, and I actually hate more now Kathleen Kennedy.
I mean, look, this is a good move from Chapek. I'm surprised to be saying that at all.
Look, maybe he finally stopped snorting crack cocaine and fucking his siblings, and he went to a sweat lodge and cleared his mind. Probably finally, Kathleen Kennedy's now the one that she probably found his secret stash of cocaine and started snorting it herself.
Well, even a monkey would get whiplash from all the productions and announcements that they've announced, officially. And we were complaining about the lack of announcements at Celebration, but when you kind of like pump the brakes a little bit and look back at it, you're kind of like, well, wait a minute. Or at Celebration D23, you pump the brakes, you look back at it, you're like, well, maybe they shouldn't make announcements because every time they do, it doesn't seem to happen, unless it's a TV show.
If they were to announce any kind of movie projects in Celebration and D23, the amount of negative backlash that they would get would be ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. So, this makes sense. I think this is smart from Bob Chapek. Again, I can't believe that's coming out of my mouth, but
honestly, same. I actually almost threw up when I said it.
I know it's just weird to say.
I had to swallow. Like, I had to swallow it back in because I felt it coming up.
But this article does reiterate that maybe this Lindelof project with Charmine has more momentum. And by the way, speaking of Charmine, when I said I didn't like episodes 4 and 5 of Miss Marvel that she directed, I will say that I do think they're good self-contained movies. They just felt separated from the rest of the show for me. Does that make sense? So yeah, I'm not saying she'd be bad. I just would like to see more on the resume. But she's got a lot of shorts that have been nominated.
She does have she's won them, of course. She's won Oscars and
Emmys.
Right,
won Oscars, correct? Yes, thank you.
She's won Oscars and Emmys for her work. So I actually have, and I haven't seen any of those other projects, obviously. But the fact that she has won Oscars and Emmys for stuff that she has directed, fills me with confidence for this future project that Lindelof is writing. Yeah. And I honestly personally liked episode 4 and 5. I actually just liked the entire show and like the entire season in general. I feel like it was.
I liked the show. I just thought those were the weakest. But yeah, go ahead.
I feel like 4 and 5, like the whole season was just one nice straight, story for me. Yeah. They all just kind of gelled well together, in my opinion, and so that's why, I have full confidence that she will direct well and again, like we said, with Dave Filoni in the writing room for this, it also fills me with a lot of confidence for this. This is probably the only project that I actually have full confidence in. But again, I'm not gonna believe anything until it's actually like even until the title. Even if a title is announced, I still honestly won't be, fully backing it, because until that thing gets like an actual official release date, which even then I'll probably still be skeptical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't want to believe anything when it comes to
movies. No, I hear you.
From the Lucasfilm, because who knows at this point.
It's really tough right now. You're in a bad spot when great news comes out, but everybody's negative on it. Because that's what puts you in a bad spot. It's great news, but we shouldn't be so negative on it. We should be like, yes, I can't wait for this. But it's like now we're just skeptical.
They just keep fucking us over and over again, that we just don't know what to believe. The only thing we can believe in is their shows at this point right now. The only thing we can actually believe in.
Well, Bob Chapek is, looking at his studio head right now, and he's saying, get your shit together. And speaking of studio heads, we're about to talk about probably the biggest story we've done on Movie Mornings, in my opinion, if you ask me. So listen to this. Here we go. Warner Brothers Discovery boss David Zaslav holds town hall meeting with new DC heads and Peter Safran about new cohesive universe. So look at this, folks. We do have DC's Kevin Feige. DC Studios is now open for business, and it's with these two gentlemen right here, James Gunn and Peter Safran. Exclusive deadline here is that a global Zoom meeting was held for Warner Brothers Discovery employees Thursday morning, on which CEO David Zaslav introduced the new DC Studios co-chairman and CEOs James Gunn and Peter Safran. It marked was first appearance together in front of the company since being named to their posts on October 25th. The execs expressed their shared excitement for the new structure, with Zaslav mentioning how the plan is to build a Bible for a cohesive DC universe, one that is arching across live action films, TV, animation, gaming, and more. Safran, fresh in the production of Nun 2 in Europe, spoke about his love for such DC properties as Aquaman, which is DC's highest grossing movie ever at $1.1 billion worldwide. Wow. That's fantastic. In addition, he said he adored the themes of Shazam. That is really good to know. Gunn spoke about how he loves the interaction of Superman and Batman and how they're the same and different at the same time. I really like that perspective. While Gunn and Safran didn't mention anything about the new projects, the former said he has a penchant for such DC superheroes as Metal Man and Batmite. That's really interesting. Zaslav, it's on brand for Gunn for sure. Zaslav expressed his excitement to have the duo on board and great characters they're bound to spring to life. Gunn acknowledged Zaslav's admiration for DC and thanked him for the opportunity to lead the brand. We hear so DC finally has made their own studio, thank you to David Zaslav, and has now put in charge what is going to be their Kevin Feige or Kevin Feige's, which you're looking at James Gunn, who I think has done a remarkable job with the projects that he's had between the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and I think he really gets it. And Peter Safran, who's a phenomenal producer. And I love this because I know last time when we were doing our Black Adam spoiler review, Dan Lin was the guy, but I guess that kind of fell apart, and these are officially the men to take it over. Jose, I know you got beef with Warner Brothers that you want to talk about here in a little bit, but before we get to that, let's start with the positive. What do you think of this news?
Oh, I mean, it's probably the best move that Zaslav has done for Warner Bros. In terms of DC is putting someone like James Gunn and Peter Safran in charge of DC. Again, like you said, with James Gunn, his Suicide Squad movie and Peacemaker, he just gets he is really good at bringing comedy to superhero / villain movies, and he likes taking the most useless villains and making them useful. I mean, he had Polka Dot Man, Weasel, and of course, Batmite is another one of those useless villains, and Metal Man as well. Like that's something that he gets, and I'm excited to see what he has to offer and bring when it comes to useless villains and making them useful. I'm honestly really excited. And then Peter Safran, I mean, I haven't really heard of much of what he's done. I may have seen some of them.
He's produced like the Conjuring movies. He's got a really good resume. You guys should go check out his producing credits. He's a really good producer.
That's probably why I haven't heard, because I don't watch scary movies.
He has done a lot of horror, but he's done some action flicks too. If you check out his resume, it's really good, actually.
Okay. I mean, I'm just really excited that these two are gonna now be the DC heads. I mean, I think it's the best announcement that Warner Bros. Has done.
Well, this is why I think Kathleen Kennedy should do, because you got Gunn on the creative side, and then you got Safran on the producing side. If Kathleen Kennedy would take over the producing and then have like a Jon Favreau per se and creative, and then partner up like that, I think that Chapek should make the same move that Zaslav just made.
So what should be
the producing side, which she's great at.
What should be president and producer?
Right. So she would take care of the producing side, which she's banger at, and she would have somebody in creative who just understands Star Wars more than she does. And that
then what would Dave Filoni be? Because he's the head of creative.
Well, he would still be in creative, correct? But the difference is like he's still not heading the studio. You got to have a guy who's actually earned his way to head a studio as well.
I think Dave Filoni has earned his way to.
I disagree, because there's a lot more in studio heading, because like that Dave Filoni just I don't think knows about. But Jon Favreau would consult with Filoni, so I think a Favreau would be perfect because he's been in this industry a long time. He would also use Filoni as a consultant role, and Filoni would still be directing a lot of projects and writing a lot of projects, which I think is actually a really good opportunity for him to get his hands into as well. This is what I wish Kathleen Kennedy would do, or actually Bob Chapek would do for Lucasfilm right now. Put Kathleen Kennedy where she's great. Produce. That's all you do. You produce, and then you run the studio. Jon Favreau, you you're the creative head, but you also help run the studio with day-to-day operations. Like both of them take care of day-to-day as well, on top of their
I guess you could
main
do
roles.
a kind of like co-CEO of creative with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
And when you look at like Jon Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy talking in the meetings for Mandalorian and in the behind the scenes stuff, they have a really great relationship. Like they talk together well. And so I just don't think she turns to him every time because of his minimal role there. But if you got Bob Chapek saying we want to put Favreau in that creative position over at Lucasfilm, I think that'd be great. I think DC is going down an amazing path because of this move. I think that this is a baller move. That's what this is. I think this is a baller move. But with every silver lining, there's a negative. So, Jose, I mean, I know you wanted to talk about some beef you had with Warner Brothers right now. So let's get into that really quick. What do you got going on, my man?
You may or may not have heard of this. I don't think it's really been that big of a news, even though I don't know why, because it's happening in probably the biggest producing city in the United States in terms of like movies and shows. But now that Warner Bros. Is wanting to do Warner Bros. Animation and they want to kill like Cartoon Network and stuff.
Yeah.
They have now cut and fired like over 100 of the employees working at the Cartoon Network Studios building here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And are actually now deciding to just completely get rid of that building, fire every single person that works there, leave them with no jobs, and just leave all the creative jobs to their studio in Europe.
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera Studios in Europe, which pisses me the fuck off because that building has been there since day, and it's just an amazing building. I've toured it as well. It's fucking childhood century there. I mean, I absolutely love that building. I hold it very near and dear to my heart. And the fact that they're now this is honestly the worst thing that they could possibly do, because that building has produced and directed and made so many of the best animated series that Warner Bros. Has ever had with Cartoon Network, and the fact that this is happening has honestly ruined my day.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, look, I'm of two minds on this, because on one end, I understand your personal stake in this, and I don't want to take that away from you, and then I can understand your disappointment.
No, it's Atlanta. They produce probably the best stuff right now in terms of shows and movies, animated or not.
Yeah.
I understand that. The worst move that they could make.
I understand that. I do. I think that there's another mind to this. Like, I'll take it back to the HBO scenario when you had like HBO Now, HBO Go, and then HBO Max, and like nobody knew where the fuck to go with streaming, right? And David Zaslav comes in, and each department, like each streaming service had their own like thousands of employees running it that were unnecessary to it. And so he had to consolidate it. And of course, people are going to lose their jobs. And by the way, I hate seeing people lose their jobs. I think it's the worst. And so for this, it's like, when Cartoon Network's not going to, it's not making the numbers that we wanted. Well, we got to cut it, and with that, people are going to lose their jobs, Well,
I mean, you don't have to just completely get rid of that building. If you're going to have a Warner Bros. Animation, why not just change the building,
right? And then that's
Warner Bros. Animation, and just keep the people that are working there.
That's the other mind on it that I'm at, which is like, I see where you're coming from there, because that's an idea that you could have to do. You know what I mean? Like to be able to just keep the building.
And if you want to look, I mean, I know it's rude and mean. If you want to fire the people that are in there, cool. Just keep the building, change it to Warner Bros. Animation, and put in the people that you want to work for Warner Bros. Animation. Put them in that building and have them work there.
Yeah.
Don't just don't get rid of the building altogether. That's just, so many people in Atlanta are gonna fucking hate Zaslav's guts.
I know.
The day that he gets rid of that building is the day that he's gonna get so much fucking hate.
Yeah, and he already does sometimes. But look, at least like for us, I mean, we're not sitting here talking about Zaslav the way we do Chapek, right? He doesn't make mistakes every fucking week.
It's funny
because
nice. Now that you just now say Chapek, you said his name like 3 other times, and you said him Paycheck every time. It's like it's so ingrained in our heads.
I know, right?
Call him that.
I know, but really, like at least he's not that studio head that does that, those kind of mistakes. Like his stuff at least seems to make some type of business sense, except for the part, like I told you when you were starting Extract Gaming, you got the real estate on YouTube, use it. You have it, use it.
You have the real estate in Atlanta.
Right.
Why the fuck not use
Yeah,
it?
use it. I'm of that mind. If I'm running a business, I'm of that mind. If we have the real estate, use it.
I don't think Zaslav realizes how fucking huge Atlanta is right now.
Yeah.
In terms of everything that they've produced, directed, and released, when it comes to shows and movies, animation or not. I mean, Atlanta's just the fucking Hollywood of the East, and he needs to use that to his advantage, because that is. It's the oh my gosh.
Yeah,
man,
I hear you, dude, and like I wouldn't have done it myself, but I do hope like with this something better comes of it, if that makes sense.
I'm about to go tour this building one last time before he fucking.
You better, yeah, you should. I highly encourage you to do so.
You know what? I'm gonna take hella videos and I'm gonna record some content in that building before it disappears.
Yeah,
because fuck.
Well, look, guys, I have places to be. We do have to wrap up, but I do want to thank everybody for joining here today. It was a real fun news day. I would love getting packed with news that we can talk about that's interesting. Hasn't happened for a little while, but I'm happy to do it here with Mr. Jose Espinel. Thank you for being here, dude. And where can people find you before we go?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Extract Gaming, all together, all lowercase _ and also on TikTok.
Absolutely. You guys can find me there at the bottom right at Dom _Martino_ and on Instagram Dom _Martino_ official. And then make sure you follow the Extract Media pages there at the top, on Twitter at Extract Media Blog, same on Instagram, Extract Media Blog. This has been another episode of Movie Mornings. I want to thank everybody for joining here today. Please make sure before you go, hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit that bell for notifications. Once again, I have been Don Martino, and that's been Mr. Jose Espinel, and we will talk to you guys later.
See ya.